You don't earn respect by chasing. You don't earn respect by clinging. You only earn it when you're willing to walk away without hesitation. A woman only starts to see your value the moment you detach completely. That's the brutal truth most men refuse to accept. The harder you chase, the less she feels you. The more you try to convince her of your worth, the more invisible you become in her eyes. Respect does not come from constant presence. It does not come from endless giving. It comes from the moment she realizes you do not depend on her validation to breathe. That is when the dynamic shifts, when the weight of your absence suddenly becomes heavier than the comfort of your presence. Every man has been told to fight for what he wants, to prove himself, to show effort. But here's the harsh reality. Effort doesn't guarantee respect. In fact, when the effort becomes desperation, it guarantees the opposite. A woman is wired to feel the difference between power and weakness, between independence and dependence. And nothing communicates weakness more clearly than a man who cannot step away. Nothing erases respect faster than a man who shows he needs her more than he needs his own self-worth. Think about it. Why does respect suddenly rise when silence enters the picture? Why does she begin to question herself when you stop reaching out, stop chasing, stop bending over backwards? It's because silence is strength. Detachment is strength. When you detach, you send a message without speaking a word. You reveal that your world is not built around her, that your value does not rise or fall based on whether she notices you. That's when she looks again. That's when the image she overlooked suddenly begins to matter. It's not about games. It's not about pretending. It's about truth. And the truth is, the more you attach, the less she respects you. You can shower her with affection, gifts, and time. But if she senses that all of it comes from fear of losing her, it loses its weight. It no longer feels like choice. It feels like desperation. Desperation is never respected. Desperation is pitied, and pity is the graveyard of attraction. The shift happens when you detach fully, when you no longer chase, no longer beg, no longer rearrange your life just to prove yourself. That detachment changes the entire frame. She no longer sees you as the one who clings. She sees you as the one who stands alone. Independence is magnetic. Self-respect is magnetic. A man who can detach completely is a man who communicates, I am whole without you. I am not afraid of your absence. I will not crumble if you leave. And that message shakes her core more than any words of love could. The fear of detachment keeps men trapped. They believe if they pull away, they will lose her forever. But here's the paradox. The moment you are willing to lose her, that is the moment you gain respect. That is the moment she finally sees you as someone she cannot easily control, someone she cannot manipulate with silence, distance, or indifference. The tables turn when you show her you can walk away without hesitation. Respect cannot be demanded through words. It cannot be begged for. It cannot be bought. It is earned in the silence of detachment. It is earned in the discipline of not chasing. It is earned when she realizes your time, your energy, your presence are privileges, not guarantees. And the only way to communicate that truth is by stepping back completely, by showing that your life moves forward with or without her. This is where most men fail. They confuse attachment with love, pursuit with value, consistency with strength. But the reality is far sharper. Love without respect is worthless. Pursuit without boundaries is weakness. Consistency without self-respect is servitude, and no woman respects a servant. No woman respects a man who cannot stand without her approval. So the lesson is simple, but it's not easy. If you want respect, you must detach, not halfway. Not while still hoping she notices. Not while secretly waiting for her to come back. Detachment means cutting the emotional cord completely. It means reclaiming your energy and putting it back into your own life, your own goals, your own growth. It means showing through action, not words, that her respect is not the center of your world. And here lies the truth that stings the most. You cannot make someone respect you by holding on tighter. You can only make them respect you by letting go. Respect is born in absence, not in presence. It grows in distance, not in closeness. It survives in strength, not in need. Detach completely and you'll finally understand what it means to be seen, to be valued, to be respected. Not for what you give, but for who you are, without needing to prove anything. Respect doesn't grow in the soil of neediness. The more you revolve your life around her, the less gravity you have. The more you try to prove yourself, the less she feels your worth. When every move you make is centered on her attention, you turn yourself into something predictable, something ordinary, something she can take for granted. And nothing kills respect faster than being taken for granted. What you must see clearly is that your attachment doesn't make her value you more. It makes her comfortable. Comfortable enough to know you're not going anywhere. Comfortable enough to stop investing in you. Comfortable enough to treat you as an option rather than a priority. But here's the sting. Comfort never creates respect. It only creates complacency. Respect grows where there is strength. Strength in your boundaries, strength in your silence, strength in your ability to walk away without hesitation. When you center your world around a woman, you send a loud, clear message that your purpose, your identity, your energy all depend on her. That message does not inspire admiration. It does not create desire. It suffocates it, because no one can respect what is fully dependent on them. Respect only grows when there is independence. When she knows you stand tall without her, when she realizes your world doesn't collapse if she disappears. There's an uncomfortable truth most men avoid facing. The more you give without limit, the less it is valued. When you're always available, always giving, always pouring into her, it stops being a gift and becomes an expectation. What was once rare becomes routine. What was once exciting becomes boring. And in that boredom, respect dies. You might believe you're showing love, but what she sees is a man who has surrendered his backbone for the illusion of closeness. You cannot trade your self-respect for her approval and expect her to admire you. She may take what you give, but deep down she will never look at you as someone she has to respect. Neediness is like poison in the dynamic. It seeps into your words, your actions, even your silence. She feels it when you text too quickly, when you rearrange your life for her smallest request, when you sacrifice your goals just to keep her attention. You think you're proving devotion, but what you're proving is that you lack direction without her. And here's the raw truth. No woman respects a man whose entire compass points only to her. Respect is reserved for the man who has his own map, his own mission, his own world that she gets to step into, but never control. The moment you detach from neediness, everything changes. You stop chasing. You stop proving. You stop pouring endlessly without return. And that shift in energy doesn't go unnoticed. It pulls respect out of her because she finally sees something she can't control, something she can't predict, something she has to work for. And that's the paradox. When you stop giving yourself away freely, your value multiplies. When you stop orbiting around her, she begins to revolve around you. The soil of neediness produces nothing but weeds, doubt, insecurity, disrespect. But the soil of detachment produces growth, respect, curiosity, attraction. The less you try to force her respect, the more it comes naturally. Because true respect is not handed to the man who begs for it. It is given to the man who proves through his detachment that he doesn't need it. And when she sees that, she begins to question herself, to reevaluate, to notice the strength she overlooked. Respect isn't built in the constant presence of a man who fears losing her. It's built in the strength of a man who doesn't. It's built when you show her through your actions that your life does not revolve around her approval. That's when she pays attention. That's when she rethinks her choices. That's when she finally begins to see you differently. Not as the man who gave everything just to stay, but as the man who could leave at any moment and still thrive. And that man, the one who is whole without her, is the man she respects. Here's the ugly truth. Attention doesn't equal attraction, and love doesn't equal respect. You can give a woman the world. You can make her your priority. You can devote your energy to making her feel like a queen, and yet she can look past you as if you were invisible. Why? Because she knows one thing: you won't walk away. She knows no matter how she treats you, you'll still be there. She knows your love is unconditional in the worst way. It has no backbone. And the moment she senses that, her respect begins to evaporate. It's a painful realization, but it's one you cannot ignore. Love alone will never hold her respect. Affection alone will never make her see you as valuable. In fact, the more you shower her with attention when she hasn't earned it, the less she feels its worth. A man who is always available is never truly valued. A man who never sets boundaries is never truly respected. She might enjoy the benefits of your devotion, but she won't see you as someone she has to honor. Instead, she'll see you as someone who can be replaced because you've already replaced yourself with her approval. Think carefully about this. Women don't respect men who are afraid to lose them. They respect men who refuse to fear absence. A woman can sense instantly whether you're willing to detach. She feels it in how you respond when she pulls back, in how you react when she tests your patience, in how you carry yourself when she withholds affection. If you fold, if you chase, if you beg for reassurance, she knows the truth. You value her more than you value yourself. And no one respects a person who places themselves beneath another. Respect is reserved for equals, and in her mind, she will never treat you as one if you act like less. The brutal reality is that attention is cheap. Any man can give attention. Any man can send messages, offer compliments, buy gifts, and shower affection. But not every man can detach. Not every man can look a woman in the eye, feel desire, feel attraction, feel love, and still hold the power to walk away if respect isn't present. That kind of strength is rare. And that kind of strength is what creates respect. So many men believe that proving love will guarantee admiration. They think that sacrifice will be rewarded, that endless loyalty will be respected. But the opposite is true. When you give without requiring respect, you teach her that respect isn't necessary. You train her to see you as weak because she sees you tolerate what a man with self-worth would never accept. You think your love will save her from leaving. In reality, your lack of detachment guarantees she will never stay in the way you want her to. Here's a reality that stings. She respects the man who doesn't flinch at the thought of her absence more than she respects the man who worships her presence. The man who can let go is always valued more than the man who clings. The man who stays calm in silence is always seen as stronger than the man who panics when he isn't noticed. She may not admit this out loud, but it's written into her behavior. Respect isn't given to the one who needs her. It's given to the one who doesn't, and this is the shift you must make. Stop equating attention with attraction. Stop confusing love with respect. They are not the same, and they never will be. A woman may appreciate your love, she may enjoy your attention, but if she doesn't respect you, none of it will matter. Love without respect is fragile, temporary, and hollow. Respect, on the other hand, creates gravity. It creates the weight that keeps her drawn to you even when you're not there. Respect is born in independence. It's born in your ability to step back and let silence speak louder than your words. It's born in the way you carry yourself when you're not chasing, when you're not proving, when you're not afraid to lose. The more you try to prove your worth, the less she sees it. But when you stand still in your own strength, when you show through detachment that you are complete without her, that's when she finally starts to notice. That's when she finally begins to respect. The lesson is sharp and clear. Love is not enough. Attention is not enough. Effort is not enough. Without detachment, without the ability to walk away, all of it is worthless in the long run. Because no matter how much she enjoys being loved, she will never respect the man who fears losing her more than he values himself. And without respect, nothing else matters. Detachment is not about coldness. It's about power. It's about sending a message without raising your voice, without explaining yourself, without proving anything. It's the quiet strength of a man who knows his worth and doesn't need anyone else to validate it. When you detach, you're not shutting down emotion. You're refusing to let your emotions control you. You're refusing to let her approval or disapproval dictate your actions. That is the foundation of true respect. Too many men mistake detachment for cruelty. They think pulling back means acting heartless, acting indifferent, or treating her badly. But that's not detachment. That's insecurity wearing a mask. Real detachment is different. Real detachment is rooted in self-respect. It's rooted in the belief that you will never compromise your dignity for the sake of keeping someone close. It's the decision to never beg, never chase, never barter with your value just to hold on to someone who doesn't appreciate it. When you detach, you stop negotiating your worth. You stop sitting at the table trying to convince her you deserve a seat. You understand that if respect isn't given freely, it's not worth having at all. That's where the power lies. Because most men cling, most men plead, most men think that with enough convincing, she'll finally see their value. But the truth is, every word of persuasion erases a little more respect. Every attempt to prove yourself communicates that you don't truly believe in your own worth. Detachment breaks that cycle. Detachment says, I don't need to prove anything. My actions, my discipline, my silence already speak louder than your doubts. The beauty of detachment is that it reclaims your focus. When you're attached, your thoughts circle endlessly around her. What she's thinking, what she's feeling, whether she's pulling closer or drifting away. You spend your energy watching her moves instead of building your own life. You hand her the power over your emotions, your confidence, even your identity. Detachment takes that power back. It pulls your energy out of her world and places it back into yours. Suddenly, you're no longer waiting for her to decide your worth. You're living it with or without her. And that is when respect naturally grows. It's easy to confuse detachment with silence, but they're not the same. Silence without strength is just waiting. Detachment with strength is moving forward. Silence begs to be noticed. Detachment doesn't care if it's noticed at all. That's why it works. When you detach, you're not sitting by the phone waiting. You're not replaying conversations in your head, wondering if she'll reach out. You're building, moving, living, becoming. And that shift forces her to notice. Because nothing commands respect like a man who no longer revolves around her approval. There's another harsh truth you need to accept. You cannot hold respect if you're afraid of letting go. Detachment is proof that you're not afraid. Proof that you can step back, even if it means she doesn't follow. Proof that your life is not built on someone else's choices. And women respect proof more than promises. You can say you're strong, you can say you're independent, but until you show it through detachment, your words mean nothing. She may nod, she may smile, but deep down she knows the truth. Detachment removes all doubt. It's not just about relationships, it's about how you live. Detachment is discipline. It's knowing when to say no, when to walk away, when to let silence do the heavy lifting. It's refusing to lower your standards just to keep someone around. It's refusing to bend so far that you break. And the man who lives by that discipline commands respect everywhere, not just from women. Because detachment is universal. People only respect those who can stand alone. The moment you embrace detachment, you stop being predictable. You stop being easy to control. You stop being the man who reacts to every push, every test, every moment of distance. Instead, you become the man who moves on his own terms. That unpredictability is magnetic. That independence is rare. And that is exactly what forces respect. Because deep down, respect is born from recognition of strength. And nothing is stronger than a man who doesn't need to hold on to prove his worth. So understand this, detachment is not about punishing her. It's not about making her chase. It's not about playing games. It's about reclaiming yourself. It's about standing in your own power without apology. And when you do that, something shifts. She sees the difference. She feels the change. She realizes she's not the center of your world. And paradoxically, that's what makes her pay attention. That's what makes her finally see you clearly. Detach, not because you want to manipulate her, but because you refuse to lose yourself. Detach, not because you don't care, but because you care more about your self-respect than her temporary approval. Detach completely, and you'll realize something profound. Respect is never given to the man who clings. It's given to the man who can let go. The harsh realization is this. The moment she knows you need her, she holds the power. And the moment you show you don't, you take it back. That single shift changes everything. When she senses your dependence, she relaxes. She knows you won't leave. She knows you'll tolerate her pulling away, testing you, even disrespecting you. That knowledge flips the balance, and suddenly you're no longer the man she has to earn. You're the man she can control. And no woman respects a man she can control. Need is the death of respect. When you need someone to validate you, you lower your standards. When you need someone to stay, you ignore red flags. When you need someone's attention, you become willing to accept crumbs instead of demanding the full meal. That desperation doesn't inspire admiration, it inspires contempt. She might not say it outright, but deep down she knows she holds the upper hand, and the more she feels that, the less she feels drawn to you. Detachment flips the script. When you no longer need her, she feels it instantly. Your energy changes, your responses change, your silence becomes different. It's no longer the silence of a man waiting, it's the silence of a man moving forward. That's what makes her pay attention, because now she no longer has certainty. Certainty kills respect. Uncertainty creates curiosity, and curiosity makes her think about you in ways she never did before. You've probably seen it happen. The moment you stop reaching out, she starts wondering. The moment you stop chasing, she begins to notice your absence. The moment you stop pouring endlessly into her, she starts to feel the weight of what you gave. That's the paradox most men never learn. Your presence is often overlooked until your absence is felt, and absence can only be created through detachment. Think about it. When you detach, you shift the frame. You're no longer proving yourself. You're no longer trying to convince her of your value. You're no longer making her the center of your decisions. You've stepped back, and in that space, she sees something she didn't before, your strength. She sees a man who is capable of walking away, capable of standing on his own, capable of not depending on anyone. That strength is rare, and rarity is always respected. When you cling, she knows you're afraid of losing her. But when you detach, she realizes she could actually lose you. That's when respect ignites. That's when the questions, flood her mind. Why isn't he chasing me? Why isn't he reacting? Why isn't he folding like every other man? Those questions are what keep her thinking about you, not because you begged, not because you proved, but because you didn't. That silence, that calm, that control, it speaks louder than anything you could say. Detachment also exposes the truth. If she never respected you in the first place, detachment will show it quickly. She won't chase, she won't adjust, she won't care. And that's not a loss, that's a gift. Because now you've saved yourself from wasting years investing in someone who would never value you. But if there was even a spark of respect buried under her comfort, detachment will fan it into flame. It will make her see what she overlooked. It will force her to reevaluate what she had and, most importantly, what she could lose. Here's another raw truth. Women test men constantly, but they're not testing love. They're testing detachment. They want to see if you'll fold under pressure, if you'll beg when they pull away, if you'll break when they go cold. The man who passes isn't the man who tries harder. The man who passes is the one who doesn't react. The one who doesn't panic, the one who stays centered. That's the man who earns respect because he's proven he's not controlled by fear. The moment she knows you don't need her, she sees you differently. You're no longer another man orbiting around her. You're no longer another man who can be manipulated with silence or distance. You're the man who could disappear and still thrive. That's rare. That's powerful. That's respected. And the respect born from detachment is far deeper than anything you could ever buy, beg, or plead for. So understand this clearly. You don't gain respect by holding tighter. You gain it by letting go of need. The tighter you hold, the weaker you look. The looser your grip, the stronger you become. And when you release completely, when you show that your life moves forward with or without her, that's when she finally understands who she's dealing with. That's when she realizes she can't play games with you. That's when respect is no longer optional. It's inevitable. When you detach, you create distance. And distance creates curiosity. Curiosity grows into respect. Respect grows into desire. That's the natural order. You don't force her to think about you. You make her unable to stop because nothing is louder than the silence of a man who doesn't chase, doesn't beg, doesn't fold. That silence speaks to her in a way words never could. It makes her replay the moments she overlooked. It makes her reconsider the value she dismissed. It makes her question herself in ways she never had to before. Most men don't understand this. They think presence equals power. They think being always available, always around, always giving is what earns respect. But the truth is the opposite. The more available you are, the less valuable you seem. The more present you are, the easier it is for her to take you for granted. And the more you try to stay in her orbit, the less she feels your pull. It's absence that creates gravity. It's distance that forces her to feel what she didn't feel when you were right there, always giving, always waiting, always accessible. Curiosity is born in the unknown. When she can predict you, she doesn't think about you. When she knows you'll respond instantly, she doesn't value your attention. When she knows you'll always say yes, she doesn't respect your word. Predictability kills desire. But when you detach, you remove predictability. You create uncertainty. She doesn't know what you're doing. She doesn't know what you're thinking. She doesn't know whether you care or not. That space in her mind begins to fill with questions. And those questions are what keep her thoughts circling back to you. Distance is uncomfortable for her, but it's powerful for you. It forces her to feel the loss of what she once overlooked. When you're no longer there, she notices what she had. When you're no longer giving, she notices what you used to provide. When you stop pouring into her, she starts to feel the emptiness. That emptiness isn't weakness, it's leverage, because now she sees what life looks like without your energy. And more often than not, that realization is what sparks respect. The mistake most men make is believing that constant effort creates value. It doesn't. Effort without restraint creates boredom. It tells her you have nothing else going on, nothing else to focus on, nothing else that matters. That lack of purpose is suffocating. It drains respect. But when you pull back, when you give space, when you show that your world continues whether she's in it or not, suddenly she feels your importance. Suddenly, the respect returns. Detachment transforms you from a background noise into a mystery, and mystery is irresistible. She begins to wonder why you're not chasing. She begins to wonder why you're not reacting. She begins to wonder if you're even thinking about her at all. And the irony is that by detaching, you make her think about you more than when you were pouring everything into her. She feels the shift. and it unsettles her. That unsettled feeling is what fuels respect because it forces her to recognize your strength. When you detach, your silence becomes a mirror. She's forced to see herself clearly. She begins to question her behavior, her decisions, her treatment of you. She realizes the imbalance. She realizes she no longer has control. And that realization either drives her closer with respect or exposes the truth that she never valued you in the first place. Either way, detachment saves you from wasting time. It filters out those who never respected you and elevates you in the eyes of those who do. Here's what you must burn into your mind. Closeness without respect is suffocating, but distance with strength is magnetic. Your willingness to detach makes her respect you because it proves you're not desperate. It proves you're not dependent. It proves you're not like the rest. And in a world where most men fold under pressure, the man who doesn't flinch becomes unforgettable. Respect doesn't live in constant attention. It lives in controlled absence. It lives in the strength to walk away. It lives in the silence that forces her to confront the possibility of losing you. When you create that distance, you stop being an option and start being a standard. And that is what makes her think about you non-stop. Not because you tried harder, not because you gave more, but because you did what most men cannot do. You detached. You've been conditioned to believe effort equals respect, that if you try harder, give more, prove more, eventually she'll see your value. But here's the truth no one tells you. Over effort destroys respect. The more you pour without boundaries, the less she values what you give. Every extra sacrifice, every desperate attempt to keep her happy, every time you bend just a little further, you teach her something dangerous, that your effort is cheap, that it comes without condition, that she doesn't need to earn because you'll give it no matter what. And the human mind never values what it doesn't have to earn. Think about the things you respect most in life. They're not the ones handed to you easily. They're the ones you worked for. They're the ones that required struggle, sacrifice, and patience. That's why they carry weight. That's why they matter. A woman is no different. If your attention, your time, your energy, your love are handed to her endlessly without restraint, she doesn't respect it, she consumes it. It becomes normal, it becomes expected, and eventually it becomes invisible. Over-effort is poison because it flips the natural order. Instead of her earning your time and respect, you're the one trying to earn hers. Instead of her proving her place in your life, you're constantly proving yours in hers. That imbalance suffocates respect because deep down she knows she doesn't have to give much in return. She knows the effort is one-sided, and respect cannot grow in one-sided soil. It withers and dies under the weight of desperation. The cruel part is this: the more you give, the less she values it. The less she gives, the more you chase, and the cycle feeds itself until there's nothing left of your dignity. You think you're building connection, but what you're really building is dependency. You think you're investing in love, but what you're really doing is draining your self-respect in exchange for scraps of attention. And here's the truth. Once you've shown her you'll overextend endlessly, she can never unsee it. She will never fully respect you again. Respect thrives on boundaries. It thrives on balance. It thrives when effort flows both ways. When you stop overextending, when you stop proving, when you stop sacrificing everything for nothing in return, you create balance. You communicate that your effort has weight, that it has value, that it must be matched, not exploited. And that shift changes everything. Suddenly your time isn't assumed, it's earned. Suddenly your attention isn't expected, it's treasured. That's the difference detachment makes. Here's the part most men don't want to face. You are not respected for what you give endlessly. You are respected for what you refuse to give cheaply. The man who gives his time, love, and energy without condition is not seen as generous, he's seen as weak. The man who chooses carefully, who receives those things, and who demands effort in return, is the one who commands respect. Over-effort tells her you don't value yourself. Controlled effort tells her you know your worth. The irony is that women rarely say this out loud, but they feel it deeply. They may enjoy the benefits of over-effort in the short term, but long-term, it destroys their admiration, because deep down, they want to know they're with a man who values himself more than he values their approval. A man who has standards. A man who will not beg, will not fold, will not hand everything away for nothing. Over-effort removes all of that mystery, all of that strength, and leaves only one impression: weakness. So stop thinking effort equals respect. It doesn't. Effort without restraint equals disrespect. You cannot buy admiration with sacrifice. You cannot earn respect with desperation. Respect only comes when you show through your actions that you will not bleed endlessly just to keep someone else comfortable, that you will not burn yourself out for a place in her life, that your energy is valuable, and if it's not reciprocated, it will be withdrawn. That's the shift. Not more effort, but controlled effort. Not chasing, but choosing. Not proving, but standing. When you understand this, you stop being another man who overextends and starts being the man she has to extend for. And that's when respect returns. Because the man who can give without losing himself is strong, but the man who can withhold without fear, that's the man she respects most. Here's a shocking truth. She doesn't test your love, she tests your detachment. Every push, every silence, every cold shoulder, every game she plays isn't about seeing if you love her enough. It's about seeing if you're strong enough not to break. She already knows you care. She already knows you're attracted. That's obvious. What she doesn't know is if you have a spine, if you can hold the line, if you can remain unshaken when she pushes. That's what she's testing. Not your feelings, but your strength. And here's where most men fail. The second she pulls away, they chase harder. The second she goes quiet, they blow up her phone. The second she tests their patience, they crumble into panic. That's the exact moment respect dies. Because she now knows the truth. You are controlled by her actions. You are controlled by her moods. You are controlled by her approval. And no woman respects the man she can control. Detachment is what she's looking for, whether she admits it or not. She wants to know if you can stay centered when she withdraws. She wants to know if you can hold steady when she pushes your buttons. She wants to know if you'll beg when she withholds. If you fold, she loses respect instantly. But if you remain calm, if you don't react, if you keep moving forward as if nothing has changed, you pass the test. You show her that your world doesn't revolve around her actions. You show her that your emotions aren't dictated by her behavior. You show her that you are in control of yourself. That is the foundation of respect. The cruel irony is this: the tests never stop. They may get smaller, more subtle, less frequent, but they never fully disappear, because respect is never permanent. It's constantly earned through strength. Every time you respond with neediness, you chip away at it. Every time you react with desperation, you weaken it. But every time you respond with calm detachment, you reinforce it. You remind her that you're not just another man driven by fear of loss. You're the rare man who can stand alone, who doesn't need her approval to feel whole. Understand this clearly when she pulls back. She's not looking for more affection. She's looking for proof. Proof that you won't beg. Proof that you won't lose control. Proof that you won't hand over your dignity just to keep her happy. The man who doesn't flinch in these moments isn't heartless. He's strong. He's disciplined. He's grounded in himself. And that strength is exactly what commands her respect. You might think love is enough to carry you through, but love without strength is weakness. Love without boundaries is slavery. Love without detachment is obsession. And no woman respects obsession. She may use it, she may enjoy it, she may exploit it, but she will never respect it. She respects is the man who can look at her, care for her, desire her, and still be willing to let her go if respect isn't present. That's detachment. That's real power. Here's another harsh reality. Sometimes the tests are deliberate, but many times they're subconscious. She doesn't always sit and plan them out. It's instinct. It's built into her nature to test, to probe, to push, not because she's cruel, but because she needs to feel that strength. She needs to know the man beside her is unshakable. She needs to know he's not one emotional storm away from collapse. She needs to know he's not built on sand. The moment she sees that he is, the moment she realizes he breaks easily, her respect dissolves. That's why detachment is the ultimate response. It tells her nothing she does can unbalance you. Not silence, not distance, not coldness, not rejection. You remain steady, you remain focused, you remain in control, and that control forces her to respect you, even if she fights it, even if she resists it, even if she doesn't admit it. Because deep down, every woman knows the truth. Strength is irresistible, and strength is proven in detachment. So stop thinking her tests are about love. They're not. They're about power. She doesn't want a man she can bend. She wants a man who won't break. And the only way to show her that is through detachment, through silence when she expects reaction, through calm when she expects chaos, through forward movement when she expects desperation. That's how you pass the test. That's how you earn the only thing that really matters, her respect.